Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this.
Okay, now my own self introduce myself. Okay, so this is the Sexuality, Illness and Disability panel. Thank you so much to our panelists for being here. My name is Martha. I am a relationship counselor and clinical sexologist. I'm a sex relationship counselor in practice for the last 11 years. And I'm also the organizer and founder of Sugar and Spice Festival. So this is the second Sugar and Spice Festival. And the first festival, we had the topic of cancer. And every Sugar and Spice, I want to talk about what a lot of people don't think about when it comes to people with challenges in life and their sexuality. I think a lot of times we think of people with um, illnesses and diseases and cancer as asexual. And I think it's really important to talk to real people and to start to embrace all aspects of sexuality, because um, disability can be acquired. And as we get older, we have more challenges in our lives. The more prepared we are, the more equipped we are for having a self-fulfilled life. Okay, so I'm gonna get my panel to introduce themselves. I'm actually a replacement moderator. Moderation is not in my blood. Sleeping is in my blood. Okay, so I'm gonna get my panel to introduce themselves. So who you are and what you have to contribute to the topic of sex, illness, disability. Thank you. Maybe we start with Fiona first.
Hi, my name is Fiona. So I'm a plus size beauty queen and I have PCOS at the same time. PCOS is actually a polycystic ovarian syndrome and it's very naked to the eye. So a lot of people think that it is not an existing condition, but it definitely has affected me sexually speaking. Um, so I would say that firstly, having PCOS, there's a lot of mood issues, and there's a lot of like hormonal issues that has affected me in terms of even just not just sexually, but with my daily life, which I felt that sometimes you're not even in control. Yeah, so that was something that's pretty hard and tough. Um, yeah, so do we go around introducing ourselves as well?
So Fiona, I didn't know Dani also has PCOS. Okay, Fiona, can you? I didn't do it, but let me do it. Okay, so we are going to describe how we look for our friends who are visually impaired. So I have long hair. I'm wearing red lipstick. I'm wearing a teal dress, and I have put on some makeup, and my hair is wet. Fiona, can you describe how you look?
Okay, I have ash colored hair that's a bit closer to the blonde color, and then I'm putting on a lot of heavy pink makeup with lashes. And being a beauty queen, I like a lot of bling bling, so I have a very long sleeve top today that is with lots of sparkles. Hoping to cheer everyone up, even though we are talking about disability. And I thought pink would be a very nice color when we talk about sexuality because Sugar and Spice has that pink in the logo. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and being plus size, I'm like chubby. Okay.
So what is PCOS? I think people assume all of us should know, but actually I'm not sure.
Okay, so for me, polycystic ovarian syndrome, I have too many eggs in my body. So that is something that isn't really common because by right, as a woman, you should have like your period every month and your eggs shouldn't be accumulating. Okay, and a lot of people thought that, oh, maybe because you have a lot of eggs, therefore it's a lot easier to get pregnant and things like that. But it's on the contrary, it's not normal. So that's why it's actually harder to conceive. And also, um, PCOS is something that a lot of people also thought that just because if you put on weight, therefore you will get PCOS. But actually, I do know a lot of ladies who are also a lot slimmer, who have PCOS. But I do have realized that there's also a lot to do with current society lifestyle that kind of started affecting more women with PCOS. And there is a oxymoron because sometimes like we think that PCOS, a lot of people have put on weight then become like they have PCOS. But actually, a lot of times when you have PCOS because of the hormone imbalance, you actually end up not being able to lose that weight easily as well. Yeah, Karen, I know Karen here as well. She has PCOS too. Yeah. So I think a lot of women are going through a lot, and sometimes with the mood and all that, sometimes you fall into just like a depressive state, and then the next minute you have to put yourself out. And I always seem very strong, like an entrepreneur on the outside, and standing for empowering women and things like that. So a lot of times I do have to put on my best front, and there are days that I feel like definitely I don't want to see anyone, and sexually, not only has the hormones affected my sex drive, but also dryness and things like that. And yeah, and I actually am I am someone who is very into sex, but then, having PCOS definitely affected me in terms of like not wanting to have so much sex. Yeah. So that has happened a dip in my sex drive as well. Okay.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we have several comments from people who say they have PCOS. Our Dani, who did Everyday Pervertibles, the last festival, and in Love Abilities. We have Karen, who was Karen Evans Fu, who was in our Thriving After Marital Trauma, saying she has PCOS, and our Ewan, who introduced me just now, also says having PCOS. So Dani says, my weight fluctuates between 10 to 20 lbs from time to time, even if I eat the same things all the time. Wow. So it's really something I need to learn more about. Okay, Theresa, thanks for being here. Can you introduce yourself? Also how you look?
Okay, I'll describe how I look first. I am in a gray shirt. I have blonde hair that's under a cap. I don't have any makeup on. Behind me is my bed headboard and a cat head soft toy over my left shoulder. Yeah, I'm Theresa. And I am a Singapore Paralympian. Most well known for that, I guess. But there's more to me than that lah. I have spina bifida, which basically means that I cannot use my lower limbs. But spina bifida is quite a range of level of function lah. So for me, I'm kind of in the middle. But I know friends who have spina bifida who can walk, and you can't really tell that they have any form of disability at all. There's also some who are on the other end of the spectrum, and they need to have shunts in the back of their skull to drain out the cerebral fluid. Yeah. And I'm sorry, what else do I have to say?
So you said some people can walk. So what about yourself?
No, I can't. So I use a wheelchair daily. I used to use crutches and leg braces also, but then I found that I moved around much faster on a wheelchair, so I stuck to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get Evans to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Evan Mutrie. I'm from Kamloops. I'm in Canada, and I have a shaved head. I've got a black head pillow behind me. I've been on a breathing hose for about 5 or 6 years. I am a full quad with transverse myelitis. I acquired this paralysis and breathing hose after a rare virus infected me a few years ago. And I do know Martha through the Love Abilities program, and I've trying to think of what else I could tell you for now. I've been coaching gymnastics and football for quite a few years, American football, and been a mental health and disability advocate for a short time as well.
Yes. So Evan, could you tell me about the mental health part?
Yeah, so I think that's partially why I was asked here today was for the topic of mental health. I'm extremely comfortable, so if you want to ask me anything about it, mostly speaking from my own experience and speaking from the experience of people around me. I suffer from pretty severe and fluctuating depression and anxiety, and I've been struggling for the majority of my life. I've been on and off of medications for quite a while. Yeah, I've had issues with self-medicating and self-harm, and I have no issues talking about it. So if anybody wants to ask me questions, please feel free.
Yes. You also have.
Oh, I've got lots. Obsessive compulsive. I've got some attention difficulties. I've had a few diagnoses, unconfirmed diagnosis of high functioning autism and Asperger's as well. So a few different things.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, so may I know your ages?
I'm 33.
33.
I'm also 33.
Oh my goodness. Evan, don't tell me you're 33.
No, I'm 26.
Yeah, that's right. Evans has the ambitions of being my boyfriend. Well, think about it.
I never said that.
I thought you wanted to be my boyfriend, you said. Okay, so let's talk about sexual orientation. What do you identify as?
I identify as queer.
Okay.
But it was a journey of finding out lah. So I thought I was straight, as most people do. And then at some point thought I might be trans, which is not a sexuality, but I thought I might have been trans. And then thought that I was just into girls in only. But then now I think I most closely identify with the term queer.
What does queer mean to you for those people who don't understand what that means?
It's I think it's purposely made into a pretty vague label. So I am not just, I guess, attracted to women who present femininely, or like I think the stereotypically female looking human beings. I'm also attracted to a wide variety of people who look different lah. Yeah, and it's not really how they look that's important. Is that clear? It's quite a vague concept, I know.
No, it's good. Thank you.
Should I go? Okay, so I'm straight, but I did at one point try to explore a similar gender as well, like liking women. But I was thinking, okay, after I explored, I decided that no, I think I'm very clearly straight. Yeah, because there was a lady who actually, I would say, she's a lesbian, and then she was after me for quite some time, and I thought maybe this could work because, I feel that relationships are not about just having the straight sexual intercourse. It can be like explored in many different ways, and I felt that feelings were more important to me at that point. But at the end of the day, those feelings didn't exactly work out. So that's why I thought maybe it was just spur of the moment, thinking that I had that attraction to that particular person only. And we didn't move on, so we didn't get together. And that's why I was pretty clear after that, okay, I think I'm only into guys. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Evan?
Well, I would say that I'm mostly straight, but probably not exactly sure. I think it's kind of unknown and dabbled a little bit here and there, but I guess you could say heterosexual or maybe heteroflexible. But I guess the truth is I'm not really 100% sure on that. I don't always know if I am following gender norms either. So that's another thing that probably is in play. But almost like a fluid sexuality, you could say.
Thank you for sharing.
Can I add on? Even though I'm straight, but I'm very open with LGBTQ, and like actually a lot of my friends are from the LGBT community, and also I have made out with girls, and I actually did like it, so I don't know where that stands. Yeah, but that was a really long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Okay, so for the purpose of self-disclosure, I guess I will also share. So I'm 44, but I tell my body I'm 28 every day. I identify as heterosexual. I have had experiences playing with women, and I really, really wish I was bisexual, but I'm not. And I think it doesn't really matter because our sexual orientation is something that I think can evolve with time. Okay, so I don't have any disability that I know of. Yeah. Okay, so of course we are most interested in the panel and what you're willing to share about your sexuality, and this is such a important and yet sensitive topic because we are often curious how other people are with their sex lives, but we are shy to ask. So I'm just going to open it up to any of you who's willing to share anything about how your illness, disability has affected your sexuality, if at all. Okay, Evan can go first.
Sure, I'll go first. Well, first off, we can talk about my disability. That's been a big one for me because I was probably not sexually active for about 2 or 3 years after I became paralyzed, which I know a lot of people assume that because you're a quad or you have a spinal cord injury, and a lot of people assume that the majority of people with disabilities are effectively asexual because it's either an uncomfortable topic or people don't really want to think of you as a sexual being, which is hard to get help sometimes. But I was very lucky because I went to a rehab center that had a full sexual health center and department that was dedicated for rehabilitation and in the interest of you relearning how to become a sexual being after acquiring paralysis or whatever other disability, amputees, and a bunch of other things. And I had had a few issues with things like erectile dysfunction, which is normal for people who have a very low point of injury, like myself. The bottom of my spinal cord is paralyzed since I'm a full quad. So I've had to deal with some issues with that, but it's been uncomfortable and it's been a bit embarrassing, but it's been something that I've had to learn about. And, I've had to talk about it, which is really uncomfortable, especially with people who are not close to you, like doctors or therapists or people like that who you're not always comfortable opening up with. Because myself, I don't always like to open up to someone who I'm not close with or intimate with. And I've had a few other issues with pain, testicular pain, and some other things like that. And in the interest of physicality, I've had a few issues as well because I'm pretty much immobile, and that's created some pretty strange challenges around things like positioning, and accessibility, which can be awkward, but it can be pretty funny sometimes if you're able to spin it with a bit of humor. Because it gets weird when, because myself, my body's not rigid. My body is loose, and my joints and muscles are all flaccid. So my body just kind of flops around like a rag doll, and that can lead to some challenges, especially when you've got somebody else in the room with you. So it's been a lot about communication, I think, but it's been a very steep learning curve for me on the disability side. And I think on the mental health aspect, it kind of can fly out of nowhere for me. And I think my mental health issues are directly linked to a lot of my issues with sexuality, whether it's that I am not in the mood, or I can't get it up, or I can't have an orgasm because my mind is in a dark place, or I'm not able to switch my mind off, and that can be very difficult, and that sprinkles across the entire landscape of my life, not just sexuality, but it is one of the things that really plays into my sexual life big time.
So you mentioned that you haven't been wasn't sexual for 2 and 3 years when you acquired a disability. So how do you express your sexuality?
Well, different ways, I guess. Mostly it's through solo sessions or masturbation, but I have been dating on and off for the last few years. I was encouraged to watch pornography by a few of the sex therapists that work with me at a rehab center. So pornography and mental masturbation as well has been something that was pushed for me, and that's something I do practice as almost like meditation or sexual focus was something that was really pushed for me, as well as dabbling with partners here and there as well. Yeah.
Can you share more?
I'm trying to think of what I can share.
Okay, I'm going to be
Come back to me.
I'm going to be very explicit, okay?
Sure.
Because I'm, of course, a sexologist, and I don't have any shyness. I'm just holding back because I don't want all of you to freak out. So I want to ask, because you mentioned it's so important to practice being sexual. You call it sexual focus. So I'm curious, how often do you masturbate or self-pleasure or fantasize in your mind?
That's a good question. I would say right now probably once a week or less, with hands-on or solo sessions, but the mental stuff is probably 2 or 3 times a week.
Thank you. And how do you find partners?
I've actually been taking a bit of a break for right now, but I was on a handful of different dating apps, especially because of the pandemic and because I've been immunocompromised since I've been vented. So I've been pretty careful about distancing, but I've been screwing around on a few different apps and websites mostly. And then I do have a pretty good circle of friends that is, we're pretty comfortable setting each other up if there's a decent match out there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, somebody is already asking, could you explain a little bit more about mental masturbation?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, it is masturbating without touching yourself. So what I was told, because my arms don't work, was to use your imagination as vividly as possible and as strongly as possible. And it can be anything from recounting a sexual experience you've had in the past and trying to relive it, and whether you're trying to recreate it exactly or you're trying to recreate it and add elements that might spice it up or make it a little more lively. And then the other thing I was taught was to focus on your physical sensation as much as you can, especially around your erogenous zones, whether it's your groin or your nipples or something like that, or anywhere. Everybody's got a spot that turns them on, whether it's your ears or what it is, and to focus your energy and to concentrate the sensation you're feeling on that, so it drives energy to those points. And I'm not the strongest at breathing because of my breathing hose, but breathing was something that was pushed as well to enhance all of these sensations. And it is possible to have a mental orgasm as well as a physical one.
Okay, so one last question for Evan, and then we move on to the other panelists. So some people like to watch couples have sex physically in the same room. Have you tried that?
I haven't tried that yet, but I was urged and have practiced a lot with point of view pornography, so that if you are someone who is physically incapable like myself, you can embody the person on the camera, or you see somebody's body doing the work for you, and you can get yourself in the zone a little bit more with your imagination. So point of view porn is something that's important as well. And I've been on a couple of video chats and watched couples before, and that's been pretty satisfying.
Okay, I don't want to sound flippant, okay, but now that all of us know that actually it's good for Evan to use his mind, I think all of us can think about volunteering ourselves to help a friend. So point of view sex really is can you explain it, because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Oh, sure. I guess it's a category of porn or pornography that usually is chest mounted or head mounted. So it's of the point of view of one of the people in the session. I typically go for the male, but everybody's got their thing.
Great, thank you so much. Which one of you would like to go first?
I can go first. Can you hear me?
No. Yes.
Oh no. Okay,
yes.
okay. So I mean, when it came to sex education from young, I think a lot of my education came from the internet. Not really even from my parents. I think that's quite common in Singapore, Asian context generally. So yeah, the internet really helped a lot. Tumblr, Google, just really exploring everything, everything that I was curious about. Figuring out what my sexuality is, what there was out there. And I think when it came to kind of exploring the body, I think that also came a bit later on. Because also I shared a room with my sister for most of my like growing up years lah. So when I finally had my own room, it was also an opportunity for more exploration lah. I'm not that experienced when it comes to sex, but I've had some encounters, some experiences, and it's really just about being able to figure out what you can do, what feels good for you, and finding a partner who's able to allow that exploration to happen also lah. Toys help a lot, especially for someone with limited mobility. And also, I think, yeah, I don't know what else to tell you.
Sorry, I missed that word that you said. What helps a lot? Props, is that
Toys.
hoist? Okay. How about sex furniture?
I haven't tried that, but we'll explore.
We'll find a sponsor for you. How about sex toys?
Yeah. Sorry.
Have you tried sex toys?
Yep, a couple. But it's quite expensive also, so not that many. But yeah, I mean, triggering like what you like, whether it's internal, external, or whether it vibrates or not. Like I think different people have different things that work for them lah. So really, it's still about the exploration, finding out what works for you, and then if the toy isn't great, you go and try something else lah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so there's a question in the chat. Does anyone know where you can actually watch couples having sex in the same room? Just asking for research purposes. So I already typed where you can actually watch couples having sex in the same room. Definitely a sex club. There's several in Melbourne. And I mean, I mentioned Melbourne because that's what I know, but it depends where you are. And I'm sure also available in certain places in London.
Can I
Yes.
contribute something?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are swingers who also call themselves voyeurs. They like to watch people having sex, or they like people watching them having sex. So that is a possibility as well.
Yeah, actually, I know that Singapore and Malaysia, there is a swingers club, like online. Yeah, but I don't remember the website. I have to like find it in a while.
Yeah. Okay, so what about yourself, Fiona? Around your sexuality with PCOS?
So growing up, I have a very high sex drive, I reckon. Being with my first boyfriend relationship, it was kind of like a daily affair, and sometimes maybe even twice a day. But having got as I grew older and realized that PCOS kind of set in, I'm not sure if it was because I started taking lots of contraceptives, because I'm someone who is like afraid to get pregnant if it's not the right time. I feel that like we should be responsible and bring kids into the world. So that's just a personal view. And because of that, my period actually, I used to skip my periods using certain contraceptions. I'm not sure that's how I created, or like the weight that also contributed to the PCOS. But definitely now, because of having PCOS, the sex drive has dipped, and I'm usually a lot more dry. Like I can't seem to produce naturally like lubrication for my body. Yeah, so that's kind of also pretty embarrassing in some sense. Sorry, it's kind of raining hard here. So yeah, so that is probably, I may not understand what others may go through with different other disabilities, but sometimes I think with PCOS also, not only with the sex drive, but also can be stressful because I think even though I'm not married now, but I do think a lot about fertility. I think that's a lot more about the issues that create that stress, because now it's like you don't want to take contraceptions anymore, but then you can't get pregnant because of PCOS as well. So not having your period regularly and having too many eggs, it's definitely a big hormonal whack, like daily as well. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience. And if you talk about masturbation, like, well, if I'm single, I used to probably take interest in it, like maybe daily or even alternate days. But now it's like, I think I can go for months not even thinking about it, which is like, I feel like part of me has been like been taken away as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything that you want to say about what advice you have for your partner or future partners, if you were to advertise yourself to your partner, what you would have to, yeah, in the indirect way, I'm just trying to say like what kind of advice a prospective partner should know when wanting to engage with you in a romantic or sexual way. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Shall I go first then?
Yeah, go.
Just take turns. I guess for me, foreplay would be very, very important because of the vocational issues and also getting into the mood, and women who have like hormonal issues, and we are all about the creating that atmosphere. So for me, I think not just doing the deed is important. Of course, I do love sex, but it's just yeah, like for me, it's a lot to do with the environment and setting the mood right and having the right time to want to do it, because I think with the stress and the upsetting moods ups and downs, it's not always like the best time like when your partner wants it. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm also open to toys for sure.
Toys.
I like that.
How about lubricants? Because you mentioned that you do get dry. Do you use lubricants?
So now definitely with my current partner, I do use a lot of lubricant. We have to, because if not, then it's just been really hard to even like insert. Yeah.
Is it okay to ask what lubricant you use?
Actually, I have 2 or 3 different ones. And I guess the one that I'm using most is the one from Durex, like Clay. Yeah. You have others that you want to recommend? Yeah, like okay, that I will take notes.
Oh, Fiona, I will buy for you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I've seen like some people use like waterproof ones or something like that, but yeah.
Okay, there are many types of lubricants out there on the market, and I'm so sorry to say this. I'm not sponsored by Durex, but I have to say Durex lubricants do dry up very quickly, and there are many types of water-based. Okay, so Durex, family of Durex usually are only water-based. At least I know of in Singapore convenience stores. So yeah, so there are many brands, and there are some brands that actually doesn't become dry so quickly, and also there are plant-based lubricants, organic lubricants that you can experiment with as well. So yes.
So you open up a whole new world for me, because not I've only had PCOS during these past few years, and I really didn't realize how much it does affect. Yeah, because now only this year I've been in a committed relationship, but for about 5 to 6 years I was not taking notice that how a good lubricant actually makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Because when they dry up, and then you don't want to interrupt the flow of sex. I think a lot of times we just put up with the pain.
That's true.
That's
I
not
thought
good.
Theresa was getting in the mood because it's like getting dark. Maybe her side is raining as well. So just kidding. So anyways, yes, I will take note on, and like to tell me where I can get them. I will get the better one.
Yes, offline. Okay, Theresa, any advice for your prospective romantic sexual partners? Let's say if you were to do like some kind of, I don't know, like a sex guide.
I guess for me it would be that yeah, I mean the even the act of sex is fun, but it's not.
You became softer. Sorry.
Huh? I got softer.
Yeah, I think it's the rain.
Oh, it hasn't started though. Can you hear me now?
It's starting here.
Still very soft.
Yeah. Louder. Your orgasmic voice.
Oh my god, my mom can hear me.
Your mom can hear you?
If I speak very loud, my mom can hear me.
If you're loud, your mom can hear you.
Yeah. I think for me also foreplay is very important. The act of sex isn't that important to me, so I would say to take your time. And because like I said, I'm not very experienced sexually, so to take the time to really like go through everything and like explore everything with me, because I'm quite open to new things also. Can hear or not?
Yeah, more or less. Okay,
More or less.
so Theresa is saying that very similar to Fiona, slow down, take it easy, lots of foreplay. I'm not very sexually experienced. Oh my goodness. So this is when is your mom next to you? No. Okay, but you're afraid your mom can hear. Okay, Evan, okay, so there's somebody sharing, Evan, have you tried erotic hypnosis? And I think Evan accidentally typed the answer to me privately. I have considered it, but I haven't tried it. I have heard some good things though. Evan, any guide for your prospective partners?
Yeah, I would say similar to Theresa and Fiona, to slow down and to take your time. I think communication's a big one for me. Even when it comes down to uncomfortable topics, and just to be open. And for myself, I need someone to ask me questions. If you're uncomfortable with something, you gotta tell me. You'd have to say something so we can figure it out. So that communication is a foundation for me. If I don't have good communication, I have a hard time participating, and I have broken off a couple of relationships for that. And physically, taking our time to explore, because the body changes so much with disability that you can't just stick your hands between your legs and sparks are going to fly. It's kind of a whole different beast. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more hot spots. There's more explanation or exploration, sorry, that's needed physically. So you got to take your time for that. That's not something you can cruise through. And the other thing I think that is really important for me is to be patient, because I think the idea of getting gratitude really quick and fast is not always what it's about. Which is I know it's hard for some people if they're just looking for pleasure, but intimacy is a very important thing for me, especially being someone who can't move and someone whose primary interactions with other human beings are almost strictly medical. Intimacy is almost lost, and you don't get starved for intimacy quite like you do until you become paralyzed. And I think that intimacy is something that just I can't really do without, and that's something that a future partner would have to know.
Okay, so Khalid is typing, you have to relearn your body and how to love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, are there any myths or misconceptions around sex, illness, disability that you wish you can debunk, or you want to say it for the record here?
Yeah, not everybody who's disabled is asexual, which might seem obvious, but it's surprising how prominent that misconception is.
Yeah, and to not baby them.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of us are adults, or most of us are at an age where we're capable of acting like any other human being, which means that we are all sexual and all have those needs, and we're capable. Even if you're a teenager or younger, you're capable of having these conversations. So don't try to steer away from hurting our feelings or do or try to take pity on us by not bringing it up. It's more harmful than it is helpful.
This is great. How about the rest of you? Any debunk?
Sorry, debunking what again?
Debunking some of the things that you've heard that is not true that you would like other people to know about.
Wow. I think squirting.
Okay.
Nothing to do with disability, but I think that a lot of men who watch, whoever, men or women who watch porn, like, and then they see women squirting, right? And then I think they think that every woman can squirt just because they have sex, and that's so not true. It's like, okay, I used to think it's super not true that every woman cannot do it unless you're like a porn star or maybe that's a prop or that they're using. But then I started to learn with one of my sexual partners. They told me that like you can actually do it, but you kind of need to know how to do it. So I don't know how to explain it. Maybe Martha can have a class on that. But I realized that I can do it and I've done it, but I need someone's help to get it done. I can't seem to do it myself. Yeah, maybe I don't know how to touch myself the right way to get it done, but it does take a lot of communication and all that. And I think that so some people can try, but I think that it's not something that women just are being born to know how to do, which is a very weird expectation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Theresa, any misconception that you would like to debunk?
Mine was quite similar to Evan, that disabled bodies are not sexual bodies, which is commonly assumed by people, and also by myself, lah. You know, as growing up, you think that maybe I'm not capable of having sex the same way people are. But I think it's also up to you to realize that on your own, and the people around you who throughout the years when they show interest, and then you are, I mean, I was surprised at some point that, oh, there's people who are interested in me in that way, and then fully kind of coming into your own and embracing that lah.
Okay, so there's people interested in you, but how about initiating with people you're interested in? Is there any challenges, difficulties around that? Because I think in order to initiate with other people, you yourself need to have the confidence and the skills to do that.
Yeah, that one also is something that I have worked on and still working on. I've also on dating apps until recently. I'm currently seeing somebody. But I think also that courage lah to think of yourself as desirable and wanted, I think also takes time lah for me. And then yeah, I think it kind of can snowball lah, you know, once you start embracing it and believing yourself as being desirable.
So how did you get to that point?
Me and also the people I'm with, communicating continuously that I am desirable and wanted. Yeah. So it's a two-way thing lah. So if they keep saying but you don't believe it, then it won't happen. If you
I think your internet is
yeah,
low.
I mean it's I say it's a two-way thing lah.
Two-way thing. Okay, got it. Dani, I think a lot of people are still afraid to learn about their bodies regardless if they are disabled or not. That's true. So Evan,
Yes.
how do you initiate with people you're interested in?
By talking to them usually. Picking my moment, but yeah, bringing it up and finding the right time to have that conversation. Whether it's whether it's over the phone or in person or whatnot, but just bringing it up and saying, hey, this is something I'd like to talk about, and making sure to not just open your mouth and blab about it, but see where they are and if they're interested or what they think of that as well. Not just saying this is the way it is, but say what do you think about this? So making sure that both parties are being heard.
That's great. How about yourself, Fiona? Because I know you personally, and you mentioned certain challenges around your size and feeling that, I don't know, feeling not confident before.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead if you want to add on.
No, I meant to mute myself.
Okay, no worries. Definitely being plus size and being in Asia, it does definitely affect my confidence in terms of like looking for partners and things like that. And I've also went into a relationship where my other half is not as interested as sex as I am. So that is tough for me because that kind of whenever I feel that I need that other party to feel that I'm desirable as well and be able to tell me that. And I think that sometimes I rely on that a little bit much. So that affects my confidence as well. And that kind of makes me feel like the less I actually want to engage in having sex because I feel that is there something even further wrong with me, or is it like is the dryness like probably going to affect me in any way, or affecting the other party of how they view me? So definitely confidence is something that I put up and show people that I am confident most of the time. But when it comes to certain things, I still do get affected, especially when I was on the dating apps like for about a few years. Yeah, so those times, a lot of times people just want to exchange sexual activity, but they don't tell you upfront. And I've also met a lot of men who are interested to just have sex with a plus size woman, but then not interested to have a relationship. So that's a bit like really everyone's just kind of like acting, like putting out in front of like what they want and not what they truly want. So they just don't want to stand next to a plus size woman or don't want to have a relationship with her, but then they just want to like go to bed with one because they think that plus size women have boobs and a butt and a bigger one and things like that. Yeah, so it affects a lot of my self-esteem knowing that okay, they just want to have sex with me. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a private message question to the panel. How do you deal with those who fetishize you? Fiona, you just mentioned it. How do you deal with it?
I decide if I just want to go on with it. Like, if I'm feeling like I'm in the mood for it and then like I don't care about having a relationship with that person and it's just a one night thing, well, if I'm single, I'll go for it. But if I feel that this person has a personality and that is so disgusting that I don't want to go on with it because of knowing just what they want. And I just think that if someone wants to be transactional, they can just be upfront with me and I will go ahead with that if I agree. But if they want to be transactional and they just try to, do a lot of different things to pretend that they are into you in the relationship, then and then at the end, like just right after sex, and they just walk away. That is something that is very hurting and disrespectful. Yeah.
Can you explain to me what is transactional?
What I meant that not in terms of monetary transactional, but more like in my terms, I mean like if they just want to have intercourse or they just want to have a sexual activity with you, and then just that's it, like not go further with you with it. And I think that I appreciate people who have the courage to own up to it and want it, because I've met some really dodgy guys online. They've like try to pretend they want to like read your future. They try to pretend they have this magic cards. They try to like do all sorts of really weird stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think this reminds me of the panel that we had yesterday, the sex dating and hookup panels of people seeing dating as a game where you have to use certain strategies and tactics. So it's very similar to what you're describing. Okay, so let's move on to maybe Theresa. How do you deal with those who fetishize you? Have you met those people? Maybe you haven't, I don't know.
I have not.
You have not met people who fetishize you.
Or maybe I don't know.
You don't know. Like for
do
instance,
with them,
I like for instance, like I really love to have sex with you on your wheels. No,
that one comes later lah.
later. Okay,
Yeah.
so okay. So if you think you haven't dealt with anybody who fetishize you, how would you deal with someone who might fetishize you?
It depends on, I guess, how far I think this is gonna go, or the relationship or whatever is gonna go. One night, 1 month, whether it's long term, then I'll see. But I guess it's also not something I want long term lah. So it will be pretty short lived, and yeah, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Detach.
So okay. Evan, how about yourself? How do you deal with those who fetishize you? Have you met any who fetishize you?
Yeah, I've met a few people. I've had some people that are fetishizing my disability, either my wheelchair or my paralysis, and I usually just try to ask them what they're wanting out of it, and what they appreciate about me, or what it is that they find attractive, so I can see if I line up with their position, because I'm not strictly opposed to it. I'm not just going to say, "Ew, no, you're a devotee," or you fetishize me because I'm paralyzed. That's a hard no. But I want to see what they're interested in, and if it's something that I can work with, or if it's something that I can't work with. And that's my policy so far, is just to say, what else are you into, or what is it specifically? Is it something that I don't like, or what is it?
So it sounds to me that all three of you are actually not going to immediately say no, but explore further. Okay, Fiona saying Evan does have a sexy voice, ha ha. Okay, you guys take it offline. Any questions from anybody? Evan is super cool. Yes, I know that. That's why I brought him to this festival. Can I talk about how Evan promoted himself? Okay, so I was actually in a huddle in Love Abilities with two people, and I was hunting for an Asian with disability for this panel, and so I was actually speaking with someone who has an Asian name, and Evan said, "I have a disability, I can be on the panel, I have this and this and this, and I also have this, so yeah, you should have me." And I was like, well, mine is the Asian festival, but I don't think I can say no to you. So okay, Evan. So I think that self-promotion comes from having developed a certain confidence in yourself, because if you don't advocate for yourself, and put yourself out there, nobody else is going to do that for you. And that was the reason why I could not and cannot and should not say no to Evan. Okay, anyway, that's the side story. Okay, so there's a question. Can we develop meaningful relationship without sex? Okay, I'm going to try to answer that by saying I have a meaningful relationship without sex with my parents. Okay, but the question is for the panel.
Yes, you can. You definitely can. Throwing back to intimacy earlier, you can have a relationship that doesn't revolve around sex, because if you really think about it, how much time do you spend with your friends, and how much time do you spend with a partner? Because I would say the majority of the time you're not having sex. You're not having sex 24 hours a day unless you're extremely lucky, and you need to be able to sit on the couch and talk with somebody, and you can have very meaningful relationships with people who are your friends or your partners, and you don't have to have sex in the equation at all, and it can still be extremely satisfying. That's my 2 bits, at least.
Thank you. Okay, so Dani is saying, yes, I have platonic intimate relationships with some of my friends. Okay, so I think some people may be confused. What is platonic intimate relationships? Should we ask Dani? Dani.
Did I answer?
Yeah, you answer.
Wait. For me, platonic means that there is no romantic feelings involved. Like, I'm a person who does relationship anarchy. So relationship anarchy means that I don't have hierarchy in terms of my relationship. So if I see my friends, my friendships aren't higher than my romantic relationships, or my romantic relationships don't have more value than my friendships. So for me, platonic intimate relationships means that I can be friends with someone, and intimacy can be in many forms. So intimacy for me can be just me spending time with them, being a bum, drinking wine while watching Netflix, or just having that close physical contact wherein I can just sit beside them and hug them. Sometimes I'm fortunate enough to have relationships wherein I can stay in one bed naked with another person without engaging in sexual relationships. And for me, that's such an amazing thing wherein I'm not pressured at all to have any sort of sexual intimacy or sexual engagement with someone. And it's quite fulfilling. Like me answering a while ago that we can have meaningful relationships without ever engaging in sex, and it will not diminish the value of that relationship at all.
Okay, thank you, Dani. So how about the other panelists? Can we form in meaningful relationship without sex? Okay, I think the simple answer is yes, but I think what the person was actually trying to ask is, you know, if you cannot have sex with the person, but this is somebody that you would have sex with, you know, like you is a romantic sexual relation partner, but the sex is taken out of the equation. Can you still continue this relationship in a meaningful way? Yes, for instance, this is what I sensed, what Chance was asking, that it makes sense to just stay married without sex. Is it possible to be with this kind of a person without sex? Can Fiona and Theresa answer?
Yeah, I think you definitely can. It's just a choice that you want to make, yeah. Because I guess relationships do start off with you having the attraction and things like that. And like Chance does say that, like, you know, a lot of people actually are like married without a sexual relationship anymore. And I do know that a lot of people, that exists for a lot of people. A lot of couples don't even sleep in the same room anymore. So not sleeping in the same room like does reduce a lot of intimacy as well. So yeah, I do think that people can have that, but I don't think I would want that. Yeah, like not a long term one. Yeah, but if that person is just like, okay, I have an infatuation or a crush with that person, and I have not, that person is not likely equally attracted about me, then that's fine with me. Like, that's choices that people can make as well on the other side. So, um, being what more than having eye candy and maybe mental masturbation learning from Evan.
Mm,
Yeah, that's good with me.
thank you. How about Theresa?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as Fiona. You can, of course, have meaningful relationships, romantic relationships with somebody without sex, but it's also a matter of whether it's something you want with the person. Like if it's important enough with the person that just you want to be with them without the sex, then you do it lah. But it's about communication and the expectation of the relationship. Um, yeah, you can, but it's whether both of you want it or not.
Yes.
Whether it's something you want or not. Yeah.
Yes. So this is the same for even people who have able bodies. The same thing. The exact same thing. It's not for anybody to tell you how to live your life or your relationship, whether your marriage or relationship is functional or dysfunctional, just because you don't have sex, or you don't have sex in a certain way, you don't have sex in a penetrative way. It's not for anybody to know, and it's also none of their business. Your private and personal life can be kept private and personal, and it's none of their business. So it's not for anybody, not therapists, not master. Nobody should be telling you how you should be living your lives and what makes you happy or what makes you happier. It's for you to decide. I think a lot of us just don't have the confidence to define it for ourselves. Okay, somebody type yes, but it really depends on the relationship and the needs of the individuals. There are couples who are okay not in engaging in any sexual activities. There are instances though where there is a difference in libido, so it can affect the relationship too. So there's a saying, it's not a problem until there's a problem. And if there are two people, if one person sees it's a problem, then that needs addressing, and not just dismiss the needs of the other person and just say it's not a problem for me, so it's not a problem. It's not like that, because you are in relationship and partnership with a person or persons that to really see how you can meet each other's many parties needs. Okay, um so I feel like I want to ask some of the really taboo topics. Is it okay? Because Martha is a sexologist. Martha wants to know. So Evan, you mentioned that when you had your disability, you went for sexual rehab, and you had difficulties with your erection. So having gone for rehab and needing to do mental fantasy to get your body mind connected and to do visualizations and things like that. So how easy is it to have uh, um, how do people actually have sex with you? If you say you're like a rag doll, so what does that mean? Does it mean that your sexual partner needs to do most of the work?
Not really. I mean, I just have to have my body positioned in a certain way. But if somebody bumps into my arm, it's gonna fall over. It's gonna just flop around. So it can be a bit difficult. But my arms and legs are just kind of laying there, so it does get a bit tricky there.
So how about how does all this affect the erection? You've
The
gone
erection, that's kind of its own thing, partly linked to my mental health, but also having human interaction and human physicality be so medical for so long for me. I've desexualized almost all human touch over a few years. So any time I was touched in my crotch, I had to dial down my arousal and try to deflate my erections because it was strictly medical, and I even got shamed a few times by nurses and scolded for being hard while they're handling my dick, and it's pretty embarrassing. And at the same time, you don't really want to be carrying out fantasies while there's a medical procedure going on. So it did make the relearning of situational timing and figuring out which situations are sexual was something that I really had to focus on when I was able to say, okay, now is the right time and the right place where I can fill my sexual potential, because before, anytime you're touched in any of your erogenous zones, it almost always means that it's something sexual. So that was a rewiring of my brain that had to take place, and it's been tough. It's been a real challenge to focus on that, because before, erections they just mean a green light typically. And now I have to like pick and choose which erections are sexual and which of them are medical, and that's been a real mindfuck. I apologize if my cussing offends anyone.
Yeah, I can really imagine, because our body is good, and it sounds like you have a good body. When your penis is being handled, you have an erection, and instead you are being shamed and said you shouldn't have an erection. Maybe they're taking it really personal and thinking that your penis is directed towards attraction towards them or wanting to have sex with them, when actually it's a physiological reaction.
Oh yeah, like I've had nurses say, "Oh well, you just want me to touch your dick. That's the only reason why you're asking me to do this." And it's not hot. It's extremely medical, and it's very impersonal. It's not intimate, and I'm not trying to get a back door here to get a hand job or anything. I'm just trying to get my medical care fulfilled. Like, it's just my needs, my medical needs. And yeah, you should never be scolded for something like that.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for that. But just for people who don't really understand, when you are talking about medical care, what does it actually mean? Because maybe some people are confused.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's anything for tasks of daily living, like dressing, rolling over, and getting things cared, like getting my butt wiped for bowel care or peri care, or any of those catheters or anything like that with my urine bag. So it can be any of those things. Dressing, bathing, washing, all of that kind of stuff would be classified as medical care.
Yes. So Khalid has a comment. Being scolded by a nurse for being hard, you would think they would know better. They don't. They don't. Medical touch is very different to intimate touch.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's exactly what Evan was saying, that the intention behind the touch can be felt, and so you are used to being touched in that way, that actually you are now missing and not having intimate touch.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
if I was there, Evan, I would massage you all over in an intimate way. I'm so
Super
sorry.
duper. Oh, it's all good. It's not like it never happens. It just is less frequent than it used to be.
Okay, so on that note, where were we? What was the original question about the more explicit question around sex? So is it okay, Theresa, to ask you more around, like, you mentioned hoist, like how exactly do you use it during sex?
I think for me, mostly it's dildo and strap on when you're doing something with a partner lah. Can you be more specific?
Yes. So okay, so I get this a lot, because people always ask me this: how do lesbians have sex? But there's no penis. So can you try to help some of these people around?
You can buy your own.
Yes, you can buy a dildo, but I also know that sex is not just about having a phallic object.
Yeah, I mean it's what is determined between both of you, lor. What the other person wants, what you want to be done to you, what they want to be done to them. I think the thing about this day and age is that there's just so many toys, so many things out there you can use and play around with lah. You know, I think for me also, because with the disability, there are certain positions that maybe are not so natural or comfortable. Then you find something that helps you get into that position a bit easier. But also figuring out on your own and finding what you can or cannot do also helps. Yeah.
Yes, it's also about exploration and having creativity and willingness to try. Yes, thank you so much for sharing. You know, I know this is like, ooh, you know, so out there, wanting to have the explicit details. But I think in some way it's also really healing for people to hear about it openly. Yes. So are there any other things that you would like to add? Because we have actually just about 10 more minutes. When it comes to the topic of sex, disability, and illness, is there anything else that you would like to contribute to? Maybe not just your situation, but maybe of other people that you know of.
Can I ask Theresa a question? So with your current disability, would you say that like what's your favorite position? Because I don't know what is can be done and cannot be done as well. Yeah. So I'm just curious.
Okay, so yeah, I mean everybody will have different things and positions that they can get into. For me, it's also something that I had to figure out. With a previous partner, like it was pretty one position all the time, like the same position. Not very adventurous, but it was what she wanted, and I want to make sure she feels good also lah, you know. Favorite position, I don't know. I think I'm still finding that out. Previously, I guess, thought that I was more of a bottom, but then later finding out that actually I'm not so much of a bottom. Yeah, I think it depends on the type of partner you have and the type of communication or willingness to find out that you have with each other.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is a very, very good question from Khalid again. How much do you think potential partners need to know about your disability or illness before you have sex? How much detail do you disclose beforehand?
Well, I would say before you have sex, you should definitely disclose a bit of information, and you should disclose enough information that there aren't too many surprises, depending on your level of disability and how noticeable it is or how impactful it is for your sexual activity. I would say that you would want to be talking about the major points beforehand. It might not be the first thing you say when you introduce yourself, but I would say if there's anything that gets in the way, if your disability is impactful to your interaction, like myself, I have a breathing hose, which is freaky. A lot of people are terrified of it. A lot of people don't want to deal with it, and that can cause a lot of problems. It's not something I'm going to leave until the last minute. If somebody walks in the room and they see that I'm on a ventilator, they could get very uncomfortable, and I don't want to scare them off, but I also don't want to make them feel nervous or put off by it. But it's probably not the first thing I'm going to say. It's probably gonna come after I speak to them for a little while. When I feel comfortable enough to get into some of the more gory details, I usually say that I'm paralyzed or I'm a wheelchair user, or that I have a care staff or things like that. So a care staff can be another thing that can get a little bit tricky because it does impact and influence your sexual encounters. So I would say weigh your options and take an inventory of the most important and influential pieces of your sexuality and disability, and then disclose those beforehand.
Thank you. How about Theresa?
Maybe not so much on the topic of sex specifically, but like dating and disability. I think different people have different views on whether they want to kind of show that they have a disability from the get-go. I know somebody who believed in hiding it until they met the person that they are talking to online. And the idea of that was to test the person whether they really like them for who they are. For me, on the other hand, because I'm generally quite well known, so I think it'll be hard for me to hide lah. But I also don't really like the idea of hiding any part of myself. So all my pictures will have like it will show lah that I'm on a wheelchair. And I think that's pretty, for me, it's pretty much how I want to present myself. And if they don't like it, then they can just not talk to me lah. But I mean, when it comes to sex, I think there are things that I think that have to be communicated with the partner before engaging in sex. But of course, there's still that little bit that you want to leave to find out with each other lah, explore with each other. So I think like things might get messy, then you want to put down a towel before you do anything. Having to go to the loo before you have sex. Yeah, those are the things that usually I'll bring up first lah. Yeah. But it's also quite individualized. So it depends on on the person lah. What's most important for the other person to know.
Thank you very much. How about Fiona?
Yeah, I think for me, it's full disclosure. I don't think there's any much thing to hide from my PCOS. I think that it's probably easier on my side to disclose. Yeah, so I don't think there's a lot of issue with that. Yeah.
Yes, I think that these are just different parts of who we are. A disability, illness, or even like being a plus size beauty queen or Paralympian or sexologist. I think these are just parts of who we are, and that it may not feel nice to be treated as some kind of a trophy or conquest. However, it is definitely acceptable if there's consent. And so that's what all three of you were saying, that if somebody is interested in you because of your disability or illness or size, then you might be willing to have a discussion with it, and depending how you feel and who it is, see whether you are willing to engage with that person and for how long. That's what I'm getting. Okay, so I actually have a very, very specific question for Theresa, which is, we know that you are a Pink Dot ambassador. What does that mean, and how did you get that opportunity to be the ambassador? So in Singapore, Pink Dot is basically an annual squat festival. Everybody wears pink and then they squat in the park and say that they love one another.
How did I get involved? Or how did I feel about it? What do you mean?
Both?
Because I've been going for many years, and it's basically our version of Pride Parade lah, right? a much toned down version of it. So I was surprised that I was asked, and I think for me, I didn't see a reason to say no. And I wanted to kind of use the publicity that I was getting for Rio for something bigger than myself, lah. Yeah, I think it's also the one day that I really feel like I'm surrounded by a lot of happiness and joy and stuff like that, and it's quite a nice feeling lah. I think sitting on the stage and looking out into the crowd was quite a unforgettable experience. Yeah, but I think on the topic of, I guess, representation, because in Singapore, talking about LGBT issues, it's still quite not really something that people associate with disability also. So being able to represent as a disabled person who is also queer is quite a special thing lah. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying yes to the panel. It definitely takes courage. I wasn't sure if you would even entertain speaking to me. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So we actually only have 2 more minutes left. Any last words any of you want to say or ask?
I probably
Yes,
would say that, like, it doesn't matter if we have a disability or we don't have one, or whatever size we are or whatever state that we're in. We all deserve to have that love, that desirability, and that chance to want or have any needs to do with sex. So I just want everyone to feel that, they can be comfortable. As long as we just communicate with the people that we want to get involved with, I think, it may not always turn out like the way we want things to be, but I guess we can let other people understand each other better, and therefore things can probably go easier on each other. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you for having me, Martha.
Thank you for sharing so much. I think there are different facets of different reasons why we had each of you. Fiona is not just a PCOS person. Fiona is also a plus size beauty queen and also very articulate in speaking. And Theresa, like you mentioned, it's not just about being in a wheelchair. It's also the fact that you have done a lot in your life, being an award-winning person, a swimmer, and then coming out as queer. That's very, very brave of you to do this in a place like Singapore. People outside of Singapore may not realize what an accomplishment that by itself is. And then for Evans to advocate for yourself and to share very openly about not just your physical but mental challenges, and showing us your bare body. I mean, that's really the top of the top of anything. Okay, so any last words? Last words, Evan, Theresa.
Well, thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been fun discussion. We should all be able to talk about sex more often.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that by you talking about this, you have definitely helped to demystify different aspects of sexuality, and also supported people in normalizing the conversations of sex around illness, disability, around sexual orientation, around body image. So I really appreciate all of you for showing up. And Karen saying, thank you, panel, for sharing such intimate details. So yes, so thank you very much, panel. And like to conclude the panel, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you for being here.